Notes printed before 2009 are often not acceptable in East Africa. USD is what works across most of the African countries, Tanzania, Kenya, South Africa. Bills need to be clean and undamaged. And this is what most people don't know about. Notes printed before 2009 are often not acceptable in East Africa. It's worth checking in your bills before you travel. Smaller denominations are easier to hand over in a remote camp than large ones. And tip your guides directly on your last day together, not through the box. That directness matters. Your guide was with you for every game drive. They were up early finding out where the lion moves overnight. That's a different level of investment, and it deserves a direct acknowledgement, not just a shade of a pulled teeth. Because the guide's relationship is personal in a way that the rest isn't. You're listening to Safari Scoop, where we take you inside the heart of Africa, one story at a time. I am Baraka.
And I am Magreth. Today we are bringing you another quick look into the wildlife moments and magic that makes African safari truly unforgettable. Welcome back to Safari Scoop. I'm Maggie. Joining me as always is Baraka, our CEO. Baraka, I want to start with something that I know every person should know when planning a safari experience at some point. You see a price, it looks clear, and then somewhere along the way you realize there's costs you don't account for, things that weren't in that number.
It is one of those most common things I hear. Someone has done their research, they feel prepared, and then a few things come up that they just hadn't thought about. And it's not that operators are hiding anything. It's just that there are parts of a safari budget that aren't obvious until someone points them out.
So today, that's what we are doing. The costs that don't always show up in the headline price and how to actually plan for them.
And a few of them are genuinely surprising, even for the people who have traveled a lot.
Let's go through them. Where does it actually start?
I would say international flights and specifically the timing of them. Most people factor in the flight cost, but don't factor in that peak season pushes ticket prices up significantly, the same way it pushes lodge prices. If you are flexible on dates, traveling just before or after the peak can save a meaningful amount before you've even landed. East Africa's shoulder season windows, such as June or October through December, are worth knowing about for that specific reason.
And what's next?
Health preparation. This one catches people because it doesn't feel like a travel cost. It feels like a medical cost. But yellow fever vaccines are required for entry into certain countries. Malaria prophylaxis tablets, depending on whether you're also are required depending on where you're going and your own health situation. Travel insurance, which is something that I would highly recommend for any trip of this size. Together, those things can add a few $100s per person that weren't in the original budget.
And what about the visas?
Visas and border fees? Absolutely. Almost every country in Africa requires one, and the fees aren't always the same. If you're combining countries, say a Tanzania safari and Kenya itinerary, those fees multiply. It's not a huge amount individually, but it adds up across a multi-country trip. And it's easy to forget entirely when you're focused on lodges and game drives.
And what else, Baraka?
There's also the smaller things at the camp. Laundry at remote lodges is often charged separately and sometimes per item basis. Drinks in some camps, anything that come from the camp's shop that you forgotten to bring on this particular trip, none of it is expensive on its own, but it's worth having a small buffer built into it. The general rule that I give people is add 10 to 15% to whatever your quoted trip cost is, just to cover things that are genuinely hard to predict.
Now, let's talk about tipping. I want to go deeper on that one because I think it's in a different category from the others.
It is. The other costs are just logistics. Tipping is the part that directly connects the people who made your trip what it was. And I think some travelers, when they hear about it, they feel they're being asked to spend more. But the more honest way to look at it is that tipping is part of how guides and camp staff actually get paid. It's not extra, it's part of the structure.
So walk us through what the actual numbers look like.
For your guide, the range we work with is $15 to $20 per person per day. Tanzania and South Africa sits around that range. Kenya is a touch lower. 10 to 15 is typical for there. For drivers handling transfers, $5 to $10 per person per day. For the camps, staff box, which is shared across the whole team, $5 to $10 per person per day. If you want one number to plan around, most travelers do well setting aside $20 to $30 per person per day across all of it. That covers you without scrambling at the end of each camp.
Why does the guide tip happen separately from the one of the staff box?
Because the guide's relationship is personal in a way that the rest isn't. Your guide was with you for every game drive. They were up early finding out where the lion moves overnight. That's a different level of investment, and it deserves a direct acknowledgement, not just a shared of a pooled tip.
And any practical thing people should know about how to actually bring the cash?
USD is what works across most of the African countries, Tanzania, Kenya, South Africa. Bills need to be clean and undamaged. And this is what most people don't know about. Notes printed before 2009 are often not acceptable in East Africa. It's worth checking in your bills before you travel. Smaller denominations are easier to hand over in a remote camp than large ones. And tip your guides directly on your last day together, not through the box. That directness matters.
Is there a story that captures why this matters?
Absolutely. I had a guest who came back and told me she wished she had understood this before she left. She said she felt like she undervalued the people who made her trip what it was. Not because anyone told her that, but because she came home and thought about what they'd actually done for her every day and realized she hadn't matched that. That stayed with me. The information genuinely changes how people approaches it.
I think the thing I'm taking from today is that none of this is hidden in a bad way. It's just the stuff that doesn't make it into the brochure. And knowing it in advance makes the whole trip feel more settled.
Exactly. The travelers who go in with a realistic budget, including the things we talked about today, almost always come home feeling good about what they spent. Not because they spent less, but because nothing surprised them.
We've put the link to the article in the show notes for this episode. It covers the full hidden costs of a safari in details. And if you want to talk through what your specific trip might actually cost end to end, link to book a free discovery call with our team is there too.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week. Thanks for joining us on A Safari Scoop.
If you enjoyed today's story, follow the podcast for more moments from the wild to vibrant cultures and stunning shores.
Until next time, stay curious,
stay inspired, and keep Africa in your heart.